So I'm Megan Wessels, founder of Powerful Partners. I have a community of women business owners who want to scale, and my mission is to create more, to help women lead more multi-million-dollar businesses, because I feel that the world would be a better place when women have more economic power. Women lead with heart and compassion, and we really think about the impact that we're making on our teams, on the communities we're involved in, on the environment in a much different way than I feel corporations do today. And so that is my mission. And I do that through the Powerful Partners Forum. So I create cohorts of 6 to 8 women. They spend an entire year together, and their meetings are all based on a curriculum that I created, but I don't lead the cohorts, they lead themselves. And it's really that magic of bringing women together who are driven, who are entrepreneurs, mothers, amazing leaders, and giving them a safe space to share what's going on, their challenges, and help each other through that. So yeah, it's great to see that the women in the cohort that we had last year, during a pandemic, everyone had a record year. And that really, was because we came together. And Lisa, actually, that's how I met Lisa. So Lisa was connected to me by one of the women in the cohort who had also worked with her. And then I also worked with her, and as well as one of the other women in the cohort. And we have all had great experience and results from Lisa. So it's my pleasure to share her with all of you, but some of you already know her, so that's great. And we'll go ahead and get started. What I would love to do, Lisa, do you want to do a quick intro?
Sure, yeah, happy to do that. So hello to everyone who I've met before, and those of you I'm meeting for the first time. Hi. I love that everybody is on camera. I don't find that often on Zoom, so that's super fun. Thank you for showing up. My name is Lisa Simone Richards. I'm a PR and visibility strategist, and I work with online coaches who want to get more exposure without feeling stuck on social media all day. So the thing that I'm seeing a lot in the online space is people are being told, create more content on Instagram, just use the right hashtags, and people are feeling super frustrated that they're constantly posting and not seeing results. So what I'm really passionate about is showing people how to leverage somebody else's audience, whether that means getting featured on their Instagram account, on their podcast, on a television show, whatever it might be. I know that there's somebody out there who has thousands of your ideal clients put together already, and I just want to share with people, here's how you penetrate that audience, give them value so you can bring those people back into your world. So really briefly, that's a little bit about me and the work that I do. Personally, I'm in Toronto, Canada. Maybe you can hear the Canadian on me. I might drop in I don't say a boot, but maybe I'll say something that you guys recognize as Canadian, and we'll probably have a cat make a cameo at some point.
Yes, your cat always shows up. I love it. Great. Well, Tessa, I will start with you because usually Zoom everybody appears in order of when they joined. So we have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Perfect.
So overwhelmed right now. You want to start with somebody? Okay, go ahead. That's fine.
Yeah. So with 6 people, I think we have around like 5 to 8 minutes each. So yeah, go ahead and give us an intro. What is it that you do with your business, and what kind of questions do you have for Lisa, or what are you struggling with when it comes to gaining visibility or growing your business?
Okay, well, after about a year, I finally got the confidence to register my business. Let me start with that. T&D Communication. So I did that in November, but I've always been, so it's like a PR agency, but I've always been functioning in the field for the past 10 years, communications management, customer service management, promotions, sponsorship, media relations. I did a lot of that. I started out I focus a little more on that and crisis management for the past year. My concern is with the pandemic, a lot of businesses, of course, are challenged based on the economy and everything that is happening. So they're seeing the need for the crisis management, crisis response training, but I don't have money. So what do I do then? Because this is like my income. I don't have a 8 to 4 job anymore. I'm still looking for a job to assist until things pick up, with my business. So when I get that type of feedback as to I don't have the money, it's kind of like, makes me despondent. What I did a month ago is that I did an interview, Bailey's TNC 10, to highlight the importance of businesses having a crisis response plan. So I started off there, but then, the feedback's of, okay, really good information, but I don't have money. So I keep hearing that. How do I invest? I know my company needs to have staff trained in this area. I need to have more, a better understanding and be more prepared, because COVID really showed us and them and the world, as a matter of fact, that we're really not prepared for a crisis. So I'm basically stuck. I don't know really who to target in terms of how to advertise and how to promote. Let me say that, who, without having to hear, I don't have any money. I guess I don't have to hear that, because that just leaves me. I don't have anything to do really, where that is concerned.
Yeah, I have some feedback that I would love to offer, and it's always fun when things veer a little further away from, sorry, there's an airport near me, so if you're hearing background noise today, someone decided to mow the lawn and there are helicopters, so that's what's happening on the back end. But yeah, I think one of the things, and I was just saying, it's interesting when we move away from publicity and visibility into business strategy. I don't promote myself as a business coach, but I definitely have some strategies and ideas I can offer up, and I'm happy to do that. So one of the things I think about in sales is always be prepared for the objection. Everyone doesn't have the time. Everyone doesn't have the money. If we can go into every single enrollment call knowing someone is going to say that to us and just expecting it, we're going to be so much better off and be prepared to handle it. So I think what I'm hearing from you, what I'm hearing you say is you reach out to companies about the importance of putting together a crisis communications plan. And they're like, that sounds like a great idea, but we don't have the money. So what I'm deducing from that is a lack of urgency. It's just, it's a great idea, but it's cherry on the cake. We don't need it right now. So I think what could be just a really smart, proactive strategy on your part, what I would be doing if I were you, I would just, you're a publicist, we're in the same industry, we know how it works. I'd be paying attention to the news every day and just seeing, okay, what company is having like a big crisis right now, and looking for other ones in that similar industry and market and saying, hey, this is what's happening for your competitor right now, and there's a chance this could be happening for you as well. Do you have a plan in place? Because if they didn't, and here's where they are, and this is how they look, do you have a plan in place? Because that's something I could help you with. Like that's a client who has an urgency and they need to solve that problem, and they have real life evidence in front of them right now as to what's happening for other people.
I did that, and I was scared, like I would read and screenshot, okay, I need to contact this CEO, this chairman, and give the information and say why, because I realized you just had a disaster and you're not in control of what is happening. But I think because of the rejection, it's still here. It's still stored on my phone, the information. So I haven't even like reached out, because I'm like, okay, you're like really messed up right now. For example, an oil company had I think it was a month ago, they had a blast. It was really, really out of control. And I'm like, oh my God, this is a great opportunity to contact this person. And then I just lost the confidence after that, because it was like dragging on for a while. You could tell they didn't have anything in place, because the company was relatively new. And I don't know, maybe I just lost out on that opportunity because of the confidence, because of the rejection that I was experiencing prior to that. I was like, okay, maybe he utilized somebody else, and maybe he'll just figure things out on his own, because he's already losing so much money with a blast and just our community being affected. I'm gonna have to already pay to compensate persons, so I can't afford to outsource somebody else to help me. But
I think something I've seen somebody else do before, I'm not sure if you work in a very specific industry or there are a number of different types of businesses that you can work for. I remember someone who was an accountability partner of mine. She was in healthcare, and she put together, like, people make decisions based on logic and emotion. Obviously, if you're dealing with more corporate clients, it's going to be a lot more logic, a little less emotion. And what she put together is kind of like, when you're signing up for ClickFunnels or Lead Pages, and they have like those pricing tables of options A, B, C, and what's in the different packages. She did some sort of pricing chart as to like, this is what it costs you if you X, Y, Z, and this is what it costs you if you don't. Like literally breaking down what it could cost them. That was a powerful way to get people to see, why the investment was worth it. And I'm bear with me for 1 second. I'm trying to think of another thing I had in mind. I wanted to touch on, okay, so I hear you when you say that the confidence, like, I mean, it sucks to hear no, like none of us probably like it. Rejection isn't fun. And as a publicist, you know, it's like 9 times out of no, a 10 is going to be a no, but it is the persistent that's going to create the result every single time. So that's just strictly a mindset thing. And for me, I just have to, like, what works for me personally is saying to myself, so I'm going to send this email, and I might feel like, what's the worst thing that's going to happen? I'm probably not going to be any worse off at the end of the day. My ego might be a little bit bruised. I might feel a little bit bad. But I mean, if they say yes, I'm going to have thousands of dollars in my pocket, and I'm totally down to risk feeling like kind of crappy for a minute for like money in my bank account.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I think what I might recommend is, I'm not sure if you're familiar with Grant Cardone in his book, the 10X strategy, or the 10X something or the other.
I didn't get the name.
Grant Cardone.
Oh, Grant Cardone. No, never.
He
heard
has
of
a book called 10X. I can't remember if it's a 10X factor or something like that. But one of my favorite takeaways from that book is to always think about 10Xing the result you want to create. So if you're looking for 1 or 2 new clients, reach out like you're looking for 10 or 20 of them, because chances are you're still going to hit your number. Even if you don't hit the moon, you'll land on the stars. So I would, you know, I think I would just take steps that it takes to build that confidence back. Whether that's saying to yourself, okay, I'm committed to doing 2 outreaches a day. And I think one other thing, if I can offer this, a mindset coach that I work with, she had me, I write this down on my board every day. I focus on the actions and not the results. Because if you're focusing on, I need this many clients, I need this much money, it can get really frustrating when you're doing all the things, but it's not translating, and it makes you feel like the failure. So I like to think about, okay, I can reach out to clients today. That's within my power. And then at the end of the day, I'll have that satisfaction, confidence at the end of the week saying, I said I would reach out to 10 and I did it. So I think if you focus on the actions and not as much the results, that can also increase the confidence.
Okay.
Winning your day. Yeah. Setting some weekly standards, we call it, or weekly goals, like how many people you're going to reach out to, whether or not you get a yes or a no. It's just keeping up with that goal and those actions every week. Awesome.
And if I can add in one more thing, because I know you're about to transition, I'm a big fan of tracking. So you can't see my board behind me. I was like, let me cut the cat tree out of this frame right now. But I have a tracking goal, like, okay, how many connection calls do I want to book this week? And I'm looking at that number every day to hit my numbers. So does that mean I need to send another email? Does that mean I need to do a Facebook Live? So like, I'm always seeing my numbers in front of me so that the goals don't get forgotten.
Love that. Good. Thank you.
I hope that was helpful.
Yes.
Yes, it was very helpful. Thank you.
Yeah. Savita. All right.
Hi.
Introduction, and what are your questions for Lisa?
Hi, I'm Savita. I met Megan almost a little over a year ago on Instagram when she was doing her Powerful Partners virtual dinners. And it was right in the pandemic, and I just followed her ever since and learned about her more and more, and I am a fan, super fan.
She's great. I'm a fan too.
I've learned so much from her in such a little bit of time, but I think the best part is that every time I sit in one of her classes or in one of her meetings, I come out feeling energized and motivated. And she has been with me through the thick of it and the thin of it. And you know, it's only going to go up from here. So basically I'm looking for a job, and it's just been a roller coaster. I am like a jack of all trades, master of none. So I'm working on building my personal brand. And Megan has taught me about my weekly goals and making connections. And I sat in one of her master classes. And I think like, that's just where I'm at. I want to build some Instagram content, but I wanted to be more focused on what I'm doing, but I don't want it to be so focused that I'm losing out on other opportunities. So I'm trying to bridge everything together, because my background is like I took some computer programming courses this past year. For 8 years, I've been working in graduate medical education. So I'm very strong on the provider side. And with all these software as a service and health information technology, companies coming out into the market, like with telehealth and just surgery, you know, like that's the space I kind of want to be in. But since I'm on the provider academic side, it's hard for me to get into the business side. So I talk to a lot of recruiters and, you know, like I'm not a consultant, I'm not a project manager, I'm not like a real salesperson or business development or customer success or marketing, because I'm coming from the academic side. So I'm trying to stay rooted in that because I have a lot of experience talking with physicians. I know what their cycles are. I know everything there is to know about a physician, but I need to like bridge it. So that's kind of where I always get lost. And I want to build my personal brand to be accessible, you know, but I also want to make a lot of, I want to make some business. I want to make some money.
Yeah, okay. I have definitely some things to share there. I wish I could say that I was an expert when it came to social media and the kind of content to be putting out and the personal branding stuff, and I'm not. Where I really rock is the amplification part. I'll just own that. I'm really good at the publicity part.
Okay.
But I do have some resources that I could definitely recommend that I think are going to support you. And it's interesting because I just shared this book with somebody else I was on a call with yesterday. So I'm not sure if you know Jennifer Nagel. I had an opportunity. Okay, so Megan and I connected through Jennifer Nagel. She's in my mastermind, and she recommended a book to me that I'm listening to right now that's very helpful when it comes to thinking about content. The book is called B-E, and the author's name is Jessica Zweig. I see Megan nodding. Maybe she's giving it a read too.
I'm reading it right now too, actually.
Yeah, Zweig is Z. I say Z now because I'm like talking to Americans. I'm like, what do I actually say? Because I know I say the opposite of you guys. Anyways, it's Z-W-E-I-G. Jessica Zweig. And one of the things she talks about in the book, I'm listening to it, and she talks about like, you know, really figuring out what you're known for is going to be. And I've run into this before where people are like, I can do all these different things, but if people don't know what to refer you for, they just can't. So one of the things she talks about is kind of identifying what are those three things, those core things you want to be known for, and identifying what your pillar content is going to be and what your supporting content is going to be, so that what you're putting out there is intentional and it helps people associate you with something very specific. So I would definitely give that book a go, whether you get the Kindle, the audio, you get a hard copy. I think she's going to give you way better tips on personal branding and content strategy than I can offer up. I always like to be frank. If I don't have the best advice, let me point you to the person who does.
Yeah, I agree. And I totally love that. And, you know, what I had to do is start making resumes and pitches for like, so each different area. So, you know, like when I'm applying for jobs and I'm using the different cover letter, I'm personalizing each cover letter, or if I'm talking on the phone.
Sorry to interrupt you, but I have another name that I want to share with you. Another thing that's coming up for me now, again, I haven't made a resume probably since 2015. So take what I'm saying completely with a grain of salt. And I am going to mention a resume writer's name towards the end of this. But something that possibly could make sense for you, rather than like being industry based in terms of what you're applying for, is something that highlights your psychographics and your skill set and where you would be a good fit based on your skills and who you are, versus like, I'm trying to get into computer technology. It could be like, I'm looking to support someone who X, Y, Z's because this is what I'm really good at. So maybe creating a resume that's more based from a skill set versus an industry could be a thing that's helpful for you. And just bear with me. I'm not just like texting my friends. I'm checking my email to confirm a name with you. I think it's Stephanie Cartwright. Stephanie Cart. Yeah, her company is called Off the Clock Resumes. So maybe look up offtheclockresumes.com. Her name is Stephanie. And I know she has a course, I think around that $97 mark, that's really good with the resume writing. I don't know if she looks at that psychographic angle, but she might. And maybe it's even worth like just, I don't know, she offers a free call or something, but maybe she could like help tweak it a little bit more so that it's personality based and we get to highlight like what you're amazing at and let that slit into whichever industry makes sense.
So the other thing I'm doing is like Rock Health, for example, is a venture capitalist firm, and they're investing in health information technology companies. You know, I'm looking at.
You need to move to the next one.
Oh,
But if you want to, if you want to reach out to Lisa and ask another question, you can. Sorry,
okay,
we gotta keep
thanks.
going. But
Okay.
thank you. All right, Akila, you're next.
Yes, hello. How's
Hi.
everyone doing?
Good.
Good. So I actually came through Facebook. I'm on Lisa's Facebook page.
And I think we have a call in the next few days too.
Yes. You're gonna see me everywhere. So I'm a consultant for entrepreneurs, small organizations, business owners, and I help them build their own virtual support team through developing their own systems and processes so that they're not trying to do it all themselves. And so we can help them develop a system that can take away 80% of their to-do list and let them really focus on what they love, what they enjoy, what they're best at doing, their quote unquote zone of genius. So I want to get my company out there. I want to get it known. I want to get in front of, my dream is to get a write-up in Forbes. But I'm going to start small and try to get on podcasts. And so right now I'm working on the top, and I got this from Lisa, the top podcast that I want to be on. So I have a few, but my next step is I'm not quite sure how to pitch them, what to say in the pitch. It's easier to talk about someone else than it is yourself. So that's where I'm kind of stuck.
Oh, I love how you just phrased it there. And I'm just going to jump in if you don't mind. And I'm also going to say, if you want to shoot me a DM on Facebook after this, asking me to send you my 7 pillars of the perfect pitch PDF, I'd be happy to send that your way. It'll give you like a framework of how to do a good outline. But you said something just now that I totally want to jump into. You said when it comes to talking about someone else, like along the lines of paraphrasing, it's easier to do it. So here's the difference. I don't want you to talk about yourself in a podcast pitch. I want you to talk about the value you're creating for the listener, what they're going to learn at the end of an episode. It's not, hey, I'm Akila, and this is what I do, and this is who I am, and this is how I help people, and this is what my program looks like. It's all about, hey, you know what? I know that your listeners are building systems inside of their business, and they're making mistakes when they do XYZ thing. So I would love to pitch myself as a podcast guest so that they can save time and money. I see most companies throwing like 20 grand away, so I can save your listeners 20 grand and a year's worth of their time. I would come on and talk about X, Y, and Z. Oh, and by the way, a little bit about me. This is who I've helped and the results that they've had. Would that be valuable for your listeners? So when you take that positioning of this is all about the value for your audience, your listeners, your readers, then all of a sudden you're not even talking about you anymore. And it's just a little hint at the end, you're going to have a qualifier like, hey, this is why you want to choose me over anybody else to talk about this topic, but we're going to make it all about the person on the other side. So I'm happy to send you that outline, that document that kind of outlines the template of an email. If I can share a few pointers in there, number one, keep it brief. I remember somebody sent me an email that was like a 12-page printout, and I don't know what he thinks I have time for today, but it isn't that. Somebody who I don't know sending me a novel. So yeah, want it to be nice and short. I'm a big believer in, think about how someone skims an email. If you can put in bullet points, your listeners are going to walk away with A, B, C. It's very easy for the eye to skim. And just a pro tip, when you're sitting down and you're writing that pitch email to the podcast host, proposing yourself as a guest, when you're done and you think that email looks perfect, before you hit send, re-skim the left margin of your page and look at how many paragraphs begin with I, me, or my. Because if you see a lot of sentences and paragraphs leading with that, you're still talking about yourself too much and not enough about the person on the other end. So just even an example of a quick tweak that I can offer you. I was sitting in on a call in the mastermind that I'm a part of, and they were talking about pitching podcasts. Now I'm a publicist and I do this all day, but this isn't my call. So I'm trying to sit back and just listen. And I hear them giving the person advice. I'm like, oh God, that's terrible. I can't just sit here and be quiet. So I jump in. I'm like, is it okay if I offer something up, guys? And the person who was talking, they are a tea sommelier. So I think a lot of us are familiar with wine sommeliers who helps us pair our perfect wines with our dinners. And this person did tea. So I said, okay, what if we tweak your pitch to sound like, I know when you're, or not even I know, your listeners sit down to, your audience sits down to listen to your show with the perfect cup of tea, and I can show them how to brew an amazing cup of pu'er without burning it. Would that be like, you know what I mean? Just a small tweak like that. Not like I'm an amazing sommelier and this is where I got trained. Same thing, same message, just retweet. So feel free just at the end, look at those paragraphs. And even if it leads with I, it's just a small inversion of words to let it begin with your listeners, your audience. And that's what's going to have the person on the other end think, wow, this person's really going to give a lot of value to my community. Let me bring them in here, because they're not coming in with like a self-serving pitch for an hour.
Okay, so could I say something like, your listeners are making a mistake developing their systems and processes by doing XYZ, but I can help. Well, I said I, but like
it'll come
like,
in there. It's not like you can never say I. Just make sure
Yeah.
not everything's leading with me.
Okay. Excellent. That's helpful, because wording it is where I struggle. I don't want it to, I didn't know if it should be lengthy, if it should be short, if it, I want to catch that attention.
Yeah. And I know everyone has it, and I can tell Megan's coming to moderate us here. So if I can share one thing, like everyone has a different personality type. I'm an analyzer. I'm super direct. Like my fiance called me 3 times in a day and I'm like, is your butt dialing me? Like, why are you calling me again? I love you, but like, what's up? So I like getting to the point real quick. So I would recommend even just giving them like something shorter. And if they're interested in more, they'll ask you to learn more rather than kind of over giving too much and boring them.
Okay. Thank you.
And I was going to add, I looked at your website and I think you have a great website. So I, myself and a lot of the women in my network are like perfect, ideal clients for you because, and what I would say is maybe focus more on their pain points. And I can tell you right now, just from my own experience and from talking to women in my network, their pain points are that, they feel like there's never enough time in the day to get everything done because they want to promote their business. They're just wearing so many hats in their business. They want to grow their business, but they're so involved working in their business that they don't have the time to focus on their business piece. And what your services do is creates that time for them. And it really gives them an opportunity to focus on their zone of genius, what they're good at, what they love to do at, so that they can grow their business and get more visibility and all those different things. But yeah.
Excellent. You said it perfectly.
All right. Well, thank you. Let's go to Shweta.
Hi.
Hello.
So nice to be with all of you women. I'm loving what I'm hearing from everyone. So I help mid-career professionals and entrepreneurs break free from the hidden blocks that are keeping them in a place of super stressed out or burnout, suffering and playing small so that they can live and give bigger. And so I'm really helping people get in touch with their passion and their purpose, but they're just in a place of real stuckness. And I combine, I do kind of a mashup of healing work, coaching, and personal growth. So it's all those things, and that's what my background is in. And I always feel like I struggle with conveying the value of the work, because what you said earlier about urgency, I'm not sure the way that I convey what I do in a way that people feel like, oh my God, this is what I need. I need something now. So how to communicate the urgency, as well as I have a tendency to emphasize the modality versus the result. And so when I was looking at different podcasts to pitch, because I've been on a handful and it's just happened sort of by happenstance, it's not been by actively marketing or presenting myself as a podcast guest. I wasn't sure if I should look like in healing or personal development or entrepreneurship. I'm not sure which category I should focus my attention on.
Okay. So remind me one more time. I had an answer for you and then things left Lisa's brain and I want them to come back. So you're working with people who are stuck in their career, from hearing you right, and you have to help them understand the urgency to take action.
They're either stuck or they're really stressed. I mean, a lot of people come to me just because they're anxious, they can't sleep. So then it becomes almost like, it's a health issue.
Yeah.
Right? So I work with people with both health issues and then psychological, like I'm blocked, I'm stuck, I'm totally unhappy.
So, okay, it's coming back to me. It went away, it's coming back. So when you ask them, what's the cost of inaction? What do they tell you?
I don't know that I've asked that directly.
That would be the question that I would be highlighting for people when it comes to urgency, like, time or money. We got to give up one of those things to get to our results. That's just the honest truth about it. But what is it costing to not do something about it? Like you're sharing with me, it's their health. Like, do we know what medical bills cost in America? I mean, in Canada, luckily my last ER trip was $40 and that was it. But I've heard in the States, it's a lot worse. So what is it going to cost you if you have a heart attack? What is it going to cost you if you need to, like, what is it? An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. So I would be leaning on, like, what is the cost of not doing something? What if you're not at your kid's what would happen if you weren't at your kid's wedding one day? You know what I mean? I would be leaning into what are some of the costs of, like, what happens when their stress goes out. And it can even be like literal hard costs. If you're stuck in this job and you could be playing bigger and moving into a bigger role and you're staying stuck, how many tens of thousands of dollars are you leaving on the table, and how long have you been leaving on the table for? Like, I think when it comes to helping people see value, some of it just comes down to doing math. And I love for people to open their eyes up for themselves, because nobody likes to be sold, but people love to buy. So for those of you who are in the workshop next week, one of the things you're going to see me asking people is, how many clients do you want to have? How many do you have right now? Like, I want you to see on numbers that you are not exactly where you want to be, and then help you bridge that gap. So I think when you can have people identify the gap for themselves and be like, oh man, this is what I could be losing out or leaving on the table, they'll start self-enrolling in what the next step is.
That's awesome. Thank you. That's great.
And sorry, there was a part 2 to that question as well, in terms of where to get featured, in terms of what kind of podcasts will help get in front of the right person. It's really interesting, and I'm just sharing with you what I've seen behind the scenes in the masterminds that I've been a part of. I see when it's a leading with burnout, I don't see revenue coming in on the back end. I'm curious if the positioning changes from the pain to the aspiration. It's not, are you burnt out, or would you like to feel this way instead of how you do now? I think if you lean more into the aspiration and where people want to go and into the hope marketing of it, I feel like that's going to hook people more. A previous coach that I worked with, so this isn't my saying, it's hers, but she always said, don't speak into people's brokenness, because then they often aren't able to buy. So that's what I've seen in that community. So I think I would probably be focusing on where they want to be and that hope that it's possible to get there. And that's what they're going to be interested in investing in, making a change for, and it'll matter.
Okay, that's really helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. It could be something to play with, like even test it as a message on different podcasts and then see how many people opted in based on me tweaking my message to this. And, you can even get small bits of data before it becomes like a big, like, company messaging changing kind of thing.
Yeah. And then with regard to social media, do I have time for one more question? Okay, thanks. So with regard to social media then, one, I'm not a fan of it. So it's something that I really have
Neither am I. We're good.
Push myself to do. And so I want to just be really mindful and strategic about, like, can I choose just one platform, or do I have to, like, scatter stuff on every platform? Because it's a real chore. And I feel like every time I do it, I'm like hitting the gas with the parking brake on. I hate it.
Yeah. You know what? The truth is, like, I always say this. So if you've heard me before, I'm sorry. Like, I think I'm the only person who got engaged at the Eiffel Tower, and there isn't a single person photo of it anywhere, because I literally don't care who knows or likes it. Even though it would have been a gorgeous Instagram post, I still don't care. So I am on the same page as you. But another business coach of mine said to me, you have to separate Lisa Simone, the person who doesn't care about social media, and Lisa Simone, the business owner who knows that drives business. So when she said that to me, I was like, all right, fine. So I think what could make sense is thinking about what's the one platform that does make sense for your people. Is it LinkedIn? Is it Facebook? Is it Instagram? And just be consistent with one thing a week there at least. Like for me, it's not going to be Instagram. It's my Facebook group. So I make a point of, I do a live video every Monday at noon. That's something consistently they can expect from me. And other stuff may drip on different platforms, but the reality is I'm not going to sit down and do pins and hire people to do this and that for me. It's just not happening. So I pick the one that I want to go in on. And then if you can even multi-purpose that content, so even thinking about, like, if you were to do a strategy like mine where you do a Facebook Live once a week, for example, you could hire somebody on Upwork to pull content from that for a blog post, something for audio that could be a card on Instagram stories or whatever. So probably if you did one piece of content that's video, you could probably hire people to just repurpose it into other formats, whether that's something you do now or something you keep in mind for a later on strategy.
Awesome.
Yeah, and I want to add a piece too for both Shweta and Akila, and what you said, Lisa, about talking to like the hopes and dreams and what they want, and maybe they don't know that they want that because they don't even know it's possible. One way to do that is to talk to your clients and figure out, like interview them. What were those outcomes? What changes in their life? How did the work that you did with them, like what are the things that came out of that? You know, it might not be the initial outcome that you help them with, but if they, you know, for Akila, if they have more time, what did they spend their time on? You know, and then what was the result of being able to spend more time on XYZ versus ABC? And Shweta, for you, like if you're helping a client can't sleep at night, and then now all of a sudden they can sleep at night, they're getting 8 hours or whatever sleep, like how is their day different then? How do they feel differently? And speak more to that. Just some thoughts.
That's
Because
awesome.
I've been interviewing a lot of my clients and getting those results too, to hear more from their side, like what did they really get out of my programs? So yeah.
And if I can layer one thing onto what you just shared, Megan, I love doing that as well, interviewing my clients. I usually do it on Zoom. I ask them permission to record it, and then I take that recording and have it transcribed using a service like rev.com or temi.com. And that becomes like sales copy. That becomes marketing copy. It's not Lisa's great idea of what I think my clients want to hear. This is what my clients are saying. So I can really drill down into super specific examples, because like I did this with Jennifer Nagel, someone we talked about a little while ago. And now I can use like her specific example of this time that she had XYZ problem, and more Jennifer Nagels are going to hear that, which means I'm going to get more Jens as clients, and I love Jens. So that's just something you can layer on as well, to just not have to worry about what am I going to write on my sales page or for my marketing.
So good. Thank you both. That was awesome.
All right, Kelly.
Hi, Lisa. Hi, Megan. Can you hear me pretty good? I hope you don't hear
Hello,
the...
Kelly. We can hear you.
I'm sorry. I'm looking kind of crazy. I'm working still, but
Zero apologies. You are golden.
thank you. I just wanted to thank you guys. First of all, I think it's so awesome for you to give your expertise to the community of women that you're doing. I think you're doing a great thing. So I'm going to give you a little bit of my background so it doesn't sound like I'm all over the place, and I actually do have a plan, and that is that after being a paramedic for so many years, I wanted to be on the proactive side. So, you know, I moved to Florida, I found fitness, I fell in love with it. And then I became a personal trainer. I didn't like that as much. I fell in love with the Zumba world. I started way in the beginning when it started, and it really took on for me. And that's pretty much from a social media standpoint where I have the medium following that I have. But I've also I've always been interested in nutrition and, you know, just trying to live a healthier life. I'm never about deprivation. I'm like, have your fun, but it's 80-20, you know, somewhere around there. And I used to give advice all the time, and people listen to me. And so during the pandemic, I decided, you know what, let me get some certification behind my back. So I went to school, graduated in May, and I have my integrative nutrition certificate. I'm really excited about it. I love the whole aspect of holistic health coaching, because I ended up doing that anyway. I had a meal prepping service that I was doing prior to going to school with some of my fitness clients. So I was on, you know, LinkedIn and Facebook and Instagram, but I've basically spent all of my time on Instagram the last 2 years, and then just recently started going back into Facebook. I really didn't think it was that important, so I started posting in Facebook. Also, I opened up 2 other accounts with the health coaching aspect of it, because everybody knows me as the fitness girl. And then I was told, you know what, go with what the people that you know. I mean, I only have like 1,400 people that follow me on Instagram or whatever, but I started trying to transition. Fitness is still part of my program. The problem I'm having is that I'm not seeing any new leads in terms of health coaching. And some of my fitness clients, you know, I did a cleanse, which was really cool and successful. And I think I grabbed one person out of that, but nobody's transitioning with me in the health coaching space. I'm just so excited that I found you guys, because I've been in my little world, and this whole idea, just these terms that you're, you know, the rev.com and all these things. When I did the cleanse, I found out about Acuity and all these other email services. I didn't even know about the business aspect of it. I just had my little thing, and, you know, people followed me. And then during transition, I mean, COVID, I transitioned to online. I loved it. So I do live and online. My question to you, Lisa, is what I would like to do. I did this a couple years ago when I moved back from Florida back to Ohio. I was featured in one of the local news things. I would love to be featured just because I'm getting started, but I'm confident in my space. Like maybe in the local news about, you know, health coaching, how important it is, along with fitness or whatever. I would love to do that. And I also wanted to get into podcasting. I looked at your Jennifer, I looked at Jennifer's thing, and it was just like, oh wow, I didn't realize all the, it's not a lot of work, but I didn't know all that went into it. So I still would love to do that. I'm just getting into podcasts. I'm finding out about you and Megan, and through my friend Chris Ann, who we both graduated from the same school. So she's been, you know, helping me along.
We've been DMing Chris Ann and I. She's great.
Yeah, I
Chris
love
Ann Friday, if I have it correctly.
We fell in love, you know what I mean. But I'm trying to find new leads. I post things, you know, I do, you know, I've been transitioning my Instagram posts to what I'm doing now. And, you know, I get likes and stuff, but I'm not getting any inquiries. So I do need some leads, and I that's what I need. But I also, wanted to often, what do you say, like to do the thing on the news too, and just, you know, just branch out some more. That's my question.
So, okay, so you're familiar with Jennifer. Let me share a little bit more into the background of what she had done, so you can like see behind the scenes the results she created. So for those of you who aren't familiar, I have a client named Jennifer Nagel. She's who connected me with Megan. And so Jennifer is a fitness coach, and she was looking for more exposure. So she and I worked together. We started off with podcasts for her. I was saying earlier, I think in the beginning of this call, the podcasts are working like fire for my clients in terms of conversions. Jennifer got clear on her message, and then she was able to use it for a number of podcasts. And when she was getting featured on podcasts, she would share with people, here's how you can find me. I'm going to go into television in 1 second and wrap the whole story with a bro, and then we'll go into what a strategy could look like for you. So she started taking the same message, used it on maybe 10 different podcasts, got confident with the message. At the end of a podcast episode, of course, they say, Jennifer, where can our listeners find you? So as she built her message out, as she got more confident, then we took it to her local, I think it's Fox 2 Detroit is her local TV station. And we were able to get her on a local segment there. And she's done at least 4 since. And every time when she goes on a segment and the host remembers to say her Instagram address, because one time he didn't, she gets about 100 new followers at the end of a segment. So the thing that I see over and over again, and if there's a hill that I die on and there's a big stand that I take for entrepreneurs, I'm just so tired of people being told, just post more content and you'll grow. Like, you have to get on other people's platforms who have bigger ones. So what I would be thinking in terms of, if you're sharing, you know, I want to get more followers and I also want to get on local news, what I would be advising you to do is think about, okay, what's coming up that's relevant in local news right around now? So you're in Florida, it's going to be a little bit different. It may not be like summertime workouts. Ohio. We're going to focus on Ohio. What's the weather like there? Are people starting to move outdoors now? Like, does that have a defined winter season?
Yes, beautiful.
We're also, okay, so let me, this is a better way for me to explain this rather than sounding all over the place. And for those of you coming to the workshop next week, you'll be learning more about creating your signature system. So something that I teach people to do is called newsjacking. So what that means is you don't necessarily need to come up with what the best pitch is going to be for the media. That's really exhausting for you when you're not a publicist. But what are people talking about at this time of year? So I work with a ton of people in fitness and nutrition. Hey, guess what comes up every single January 1st? It's always New Year's resolutions that never changes. So, you know, we're moving into Memorial Day weekend is coming up. 4th of July is coming up. Like, is there like a healthier alternative barbecue idea you can pitch? Like, what are some events? It's the end of May right now. Like, what are 4 key events coming up in June or July that they're going to be talking about? And I would log on to that station and just kind of take a perusal on what they've talked about in lifestyle and health, because they'll probably recycle content. I bet you could come up with a great idea. And here's a little secret that I do with some of my clients. I'll tell you guys this. With local news, what somebody is watching in Ohio, they are not watching in Florida, they are not watching in Toronto. So if one of my clients, I saw someone in Toronto did a wicked Game of Thrones workout when the series was ending in Toronto. So I said to my client in Texas, like, hey, pitch a Game of Thrones workout. Totes worked. She got the segment. Like, different audiences entirely, those two segments don't mix. I'm the only person probably on the entire planet who knows those happened. So you can also just successfully use clues. What are other people, what are other nutritionists talking about on segments? And you can see that and say, oh, you know what? Here's how I would actually put my own personal twist on it, because it's never about copying. I am not an advocate for copying, but I'm a big advocate for drawing inspiration from. So it's like, okay, what can I draw inspiration from that? And here's how I'll make it my own. And I would start off with just like coming up with some ideas like that to pitch local TV. And then at the end of a segment, when they're like, Kelly, how can our viewers find you? What I recommend is before that segment is filmed, do an Instagram story talking a little bit deeper into, like, you know, if you're going on talking about healthy barbecue alternatives, hey, you saw me on KPMG radio talking about, saw me talking about healthy barbecue alternatives. Click here to get this link on my blog that has more recipes or whatever it could be. So as soon as somebody watches you on TV, they can immediately head to their phone. There's content already there for you. You'll get into 100 subscribers in about 5 minutes, probably. Now, imagine if you kept doing that consistently twice a month, you would probably have, what, 2,400 new subscribers at the end of the year that you didn't pay anything for. And they're all hot leads because they saw you on TV, which means, well, you're trustworthy.
That is awesome. That is awesome. Can I just ask you one quick question, just opinion question?
Yes, one more, and then I get to roll it over to Natalie before we close off today.
Okay, one quick question. Everyone's talking about the niche, right? So, you know, just full disclosure, I'm 57, but I have the energy of like a 30-year-old. I'm not saying that to boast. I'm just saying that's how it is. That's how it's been, right? And so they're like, well, that's what you need to pitch. But the thing is, the people that I've come across that are in that, you know, they're like, oh, well, the 50 to 70-year-old can really benefit. They're not going to listen to what I'm saying. You know what I mean? Like, I exercise, you know, some of the things that I do. Most of my clients that I see are 30, 40-year-olds, even 20-year-olds that are.
So imagine you did a pitch around the idea of things your future self is going to thank you for. I'm sorry, repeat. Imagine pitching something around the idea of things your future self will thank you for. I'm 57. I'm personally 37. You're 57. So what lessons can I learn from you? Like, when I think about, so very briefly, I tell people way more than they need to know, but here we go. Getting married in September, and Lisa was like, I want to look boss in that dress. So I was working out, I still am working out and eating really well because I want to be a size 6, vanity honest truth. And now I'm watching my mom who has diabetes, who's on dialysis, and my motivation for working out, yeah, I like being a size 6, it's great. But I also want to be able to stand up from the floor. I also don't want to have to rely on medication all the time. So my motivation has completely shifted for doing what I do. So imagine you did a pitch saying, like, you know, if you do an exercise every day where you get down from the ground and stand up, you're going to thank yourself in 20 years because my mom can't do that. Do you know what I mean? So thinking about like that could be a really good angle. There's always an opportunity. It's just about how am I going to position this? Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. You're super, super welcome, Kelly. And I think you're already coming to the workshop next week. Yeah. Okay, cool. And I'll share a little bit more about it before we wrap the call. So I want to make sure, Natalie, we give you some dedicated time as well. Natalie, thank you so much. Second time we get to hang out today. How can I support you?
So I'm very much like Shweta. I'm also a burnout coach. So I help individuals reignite their purpose and confidence. So being a financial manager, I quit my financial manager job pre-COVID, 2 months before COVID. Didn't know what was coming with COVID. I thought, no, take a couple of months off and we'll see which direction we're going in. But I'm here now. I launched my business in October. And I had a great kickoff, and then this year it's been very slow. So in April, I started doing business coaching with Kara. So she's just helped me get my message out clearly, reach out to my ideal client, sort out my programs, because I think I was just in such an overwhelmed state of trying to make sure that any client that came to me, I was servicing. So making a customized program for them. Yeah, don't worry, I can do that. We'll put this in. And then you just keep adding and adding and adding, and you become so overwhelmed with the delivery on it, and you become overwhelmed with also being visible. So I also had to overcome my fear of social media. So I'm a pretty private person, but I'm a very confident person at the same time in private, like amongst my friends and family. But put me on a stage and whoa, nothing happens. It's like, sorry, you said what? You're talking to me? So with Zoom taking the space it has, it's also encouraged me to step out of that bubble a little bit. So I'm in the process of also launching my social media with the Instagram stories, excuse me. And this is what happens, you see, we get all nervous. And the call earlier today also helped me understand the podcast. So you covered that in depth in that. So if you want to repeat that call from earlier, that's also great. But just like Shweta also asked, how many platforms do you need to be on? So, I mean, we're working with professional people generally who are the burnt out individuals. So it would be LinkedIn and probably Instagram. And then I agree with you with keeping Facebook open for the groups. So I am in the course next week. And I've been totally overwhelmed with all the feedback and all the messaging and the excitement and the build up towards it. So I do know it's going to be very, very insightful, but you also covered a lot of my questions in Shweta's session too. So it's just generally on, if there was one thing you could focus on to make sure that confidence pulled through, what recommendation would you give?
Yeah, and I'm so happy to answer this in a way that's a little bit different than I gave this morning. So hopefully this is going to be helpful for everyone. So when it comes, we all have different levels of confidence. So I always say I have only child syndrome. You throw me on a stage in front of 3,000 people, I'll be like, everyone put your phones down. I'm here now. Let's pay attention to me. And I totally get that that's not everybody. So I like to talk through something called the ladder of publicity with people so that you're building your confidence to get out there, because it doesn't do you any good if I'm like, Natalie, go on TV tomorrow, and that's not your confidence or your comfort zone. So what I recommend to people is moving up this ladder of publicity. So people like to consume information in one of three ways. They're either reading, watching, or listening. So one thing that I recommend is starting off, and I think I might have talked a little bit about this on the call earlier with Kara, is starting off with contributing content. So this is where you would write an article or a blog post for another site. If you're somebody who really likes to lean into that perfection, they're a little scared to put it out there, like you can reread it over and over again until you're sure it's perfect before you hit send and submit. So if that's a way you're starting to look at putting yourself out there to create that footprint and get more visibility, something very simple that you can do is go on Google and type in the search terms, write for us, WRITE, write for us in your industry. Write for us health coaching, write for us dietitian, write for us publicity. And you'll start coming up with a number of sites that are looking for experts to contribute content there. So that's a great way to start leveraging other people's audiences and getting free exposure, but you're not so much putting yourself on the line that it's going to be super freaky scary. So that's one way that I recommend people start. The next rung moving up the ladder is getting heard. So I'm sure I've said 3 times on this call, podcasts are crushing it for my clients right now. That's where they're getting visibility, but also people enrolling and paying them. So it's great to be seen. We love that, but we all run businesses. We get to enroll clients and get paid as well. So podcasts are working really well for them. And what I like about podcasts is a lot of the time, you're just having a conversation with another person. Personally, I like when the camera is on because then I can judge their visual cues. Like earlier when Megan would come off of mute, I know Lisa start wrapping it up. But a lot of the time there's no camera on, and I've just had times literally, again, Lisa telling too much, I'm so sorry. I lived in my old condo where it was construction across the street at the time. And I remember just like strolling around in my underwear, just on a call with somebody. Then I looked out and they were all looking at me and I'm like, oh, right. Someone can see you right now. So I like podcasts because it just takes some of that pressure off. You're just having a one-on-one conversation with someone. And then as you're building that confidence, like maybe that podcast host, you can say, hey, can we do a live in your Facebook group together? Could we go live on your Instagram account? And I'm saying in your Facebook group, in your Instagram account. So that way it's not like I needed to build up the community for that. You've already got an audience and I'm just getting in front of them in another way. So I think kind of a hybrid of things, like number one, just focus on one platform. Don't try, like I'm never going to do a real pointing at things. It's just not going to happen. I know myself. So I'm just playing with Facebook. That's where I'm the most serious. And if I'm going to do Instagram, I probably got to hire somebody. So I think pick your one platform, and that's just going to take a lot of stress and pressure off. We can't do 4 things really, really well. So let's just focus on one. And then otherwise, just focus on leveraging other people's platforms. They've built the audience. It's just a matter of showing up and giving so much value that they're like, of course, we want to have Natalie come on and do a 15-minute live video, a 60-minute power hour, or something like that.
Okay.
So let's start with just contributing an article, one place to get started, and then we can keep moving up. Rome wasn't built in a day.
No, it's fair. It's doable.
I hope that was helpful, and we will dive into it a little bit more next week. We have a whole section on how success leaves clues. So we'll talk into like, who's the person who did what you want to do before you, and start seeing how can we like create a similar path for ourselves. Not copying, but drawing inspiration from.
Okay.
Awesome. Well, I hope that was helpful for everybody. I know we're just wrapping up onto the hour. I know Megan would want to be super mindful of timing. So I've absolutely loved having the opportunity to come in here and share a little bit more with you. I hope that this was helpful. For those of you who are coming to me from Megan's world and not my own world, I would love to share an invitation with you. Next week, I'm going to be hosting a free 2-day intensive. So if you got a lot in this hour, guess what you're gonna get in 2 days with me? It's a free 2-day intensive training. It's called the Get the Word Out Workshop. And essentially in 2 days, I'm going to be sharing with you, number one, how to get clear on your message. And number two, once you have a clear message, how do you put that message on a megaphone in front of more people in ways like we talked about today? So if you're interested in joining me on Wednesday and Thursday of next week, you can sign up for the free workshop at www.finallygetthewordout.com. And I can type that in the chat, www. Did I put in too many W's? finallygetthewordout.com. And then we'll be talking a lot into like figuring out your strategy and how you can get it out there. And really like the thing I think was going to be very helpful for some people on this call is on Thursday, we're going into the confidence to do it. I can tell you guys, here's how you find a producer. Here's how you find an editor. This is how you do a pitch, but you got to feel like real pumped and confident to do it. So I hope that that's going to be very, very helpful for everyone who's tuned in. Awesome. Anything else as we wrap up today? Thank you so much for sharing an hour of your time with me.
One quick question. How do you know which podcast, in terms of doing research, which podcast will suit what you're doing for? And in my instance, yeah.
I got an answer for that. So are you following Megan on LinkedIn?
I can't remember offhand, so. Okay,
because let me see if I can just very quickly, if you have to jump off, I totally understand, but bear with me. I'm going to try and very, very quickly find this link to share with you, because Megan and I actually did a live last week where we were talking about how to find the right show. And I teach you how to find one show and then go down an iTunes rabbit hole to find a bunch of other similar shows. So I'm just going to find a link to that video, and I'm going to, yep, here we go. I got it. So there's a link to the video. You can watch it on LinkedIn, and it will take you through, okay, here's how you find the first podcast that can be a fit. And now we go on iTunes, find 10 other podcasts that would be a good fit. How do we qualify to make sure it's even a good show? How do we find the host? Crammed it all into 15 minutes for you.
Very good.
Awesome. Thank you so much, everyone. I appreciate all of you.
Thank you. This was
incredible.
So glad to be of service. Have a great afternoon. I hope to see you on the training next week.
Bye,
everyone.
Thanks again. Thank you, Megan.
Bye.